Welcome to Special Times with Peter Filosa, another episode. And my guest today is Steve Teehan.
How you doing, Peter? Good to see you.
Good to see you. Steve Teehan is a longtime Medfield resident who recently ran for state representative for the 9th Norfolk District, which includes precincts 3 and 4 in Medfield. Steve ran in the primary against Kevin Colcutt of Norfolk, losing by a small margin. Republican Marcus Vaughn of Rentham won the general election in November. Steve works as a union carpenter after a number of years working the State House as chief of staff for Walter Timothy. Steve has also been chair of the Medfield Democratic Town Committee since 2017. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here with you.
Good to have you. What inspired you to run for state rep?
So I've always been interested in politics, and I grew up in and around politics, working on campaigns, and I've always been really passionate about local state government. And so when there was an open seat in the legislature for the 9th Norfolk District, I felt like I just had to run.
What has been the most important influences on your life in politics?
I would say the two most important influences for me in politics. The first would be my dad, who was chair of the Medfield Democratic Town Committee, and I grew up working on campaigns with him, and I loved it. We would go door knocking together. We would hold signs like you and me did. And he would take me around and introduce me to everybody, and I loved it. And he taught me a lot about campaigns and a lot about politics and the Democratic Party and how elections work. And I just have a lot of fond memories of growing up working campaigns with my dad. And then my other biggest influence is Senator Walter Timothy, who I had the privilege of working for in the State House for 2.5 years. I ran his office. And I really got to learn how the State House works, and I got to learn a lot about public service and one-on-one constituent service from Walter. So he was my other great influence.
And we're going to have to work on getting him on my show next.
I got to call him up and see if we can get him to be the next guest on the Peter Filosa show.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Why do you think you lost to Kevin, and will you run again?
So Kevin's a really great guy, and he ran a great campaign. And I worked really hard. We all worked really hard. But Kevin did a really good job, and he was able to beat me by just a little bit. But I think that's a testament to the hard work that he put in the campaign that he ran. And would I run again? I guess if I felt like there was an opportunity, and if I felt like I could do some good for the community, then I would definitely run again.
Is there anything you would change about how you ran your campaign?
I don't think so. I don't think I would change anything. I worked as hard as I possibly could. You came out and you did a lot of work for me. We held signs together a lot. You were my best sign holder by far. You would get more honks than I would when we were out there holding signs. You should have ran for office, Peter, instead of me. I was really proud of the campaign that we ran, and I was really proud of all the endorsements that we had and a lot of the support that we had, and we did really, really well, like I said, coming up just shy. But I don't think I would change anything.
What do you think the most important issues will be for Medfield and the state of Massachusetts between now and 2024?
I think between now and 2024, one of the most critical issues in the town of Medfield and the state as a whole is definitely housing affordability for our senior citizens. I think that it's important that the state expands on the tax breaks for senior citizens so that our seniors can afford to live in towns like Medfield and stay in their homes in the communities where they've lived for their entire lives, or for decades. I think that's very, very important.
That's something I want too.
Really? Yeah.
Is to live back in my hometown, Medfield, where I grew up.
Yeah. We'd love to have you back.
I miss it.
You do? Well, you visit a lot. You get to come by a lot, which is nice.
Yeah. What issues do you care about most?
I would say those issues right there, definitely affordability for senior citizens, but also for young families that are looking to buy, a house for the first time and live in a community like Medfield and Norfolk or Rentham. And then my other passion is always going to be, organized labor and unions and making sure that the working class has a real fair shake here in the state of Massachusetts.
How has a union carpenter influenced you in terms of your politics?
It's been an enormous influence. It's probably one of the biggest influences in my life. I, owe everything that I have in my livelihood to being a union carpenter, and being a member of the Brotherhood of Carpenters, and really being able to make a good wage and have health care and safer retirement. And I think that those sort of economic issues are really, really important to folks here in the Commonwealth, where it's not cheap to live here in Massachusetts. And it's great to have union protection, and to be able to, like I said, make a good living wage.
What inspired you to become chair of the Democratic Town Committee?
So when I was a little kid, my dad was the chair of the Medfield Democratic Town Committee for about 10 years. I think from 1995 until about 2005. So I grew up going to the meetings and seeing Eileen, and working on whatever local Democratic candidates' campaigns were going on at the time, and I loved it. And I grew up going to the meetings and being involved. So when I turned 18, I registered to vote. I registered as a Democrat, and then I joined the Medfield Democratic Town Committee. And then our chair at the time, Rebecca, she stepped down because she was moving away, and there was an opportunity to become the chair, and I decided I wanted to take it. And I love being the chair of the Medfield Democratic Town Committee.
That's great. What does the DTC do, and why is it important?
What we do for the most part is try to get Democrats elected to public office here in the town of Medfield. And they might be running for Congress, or they might be running for a state representative or state senator or a governor. And we come together to work on all those campaigns to try to make sure that Democrats win here in the town of Medfield.
I hear you have an upcoming birthday. Happy birthday, Steve.
Thank you very much, Peter. I appreciate it. Thank you for not saying how old I am, too.
Well, before we wrap up, do you have any questions for me?
What would you say is your favorite thing about the town of Medfield?
Everybody in the town knows me, and I know them, and it's a very small but family-knit community, and I've grown up here, and it's nice to have a hometown community where everybody knows each other, and they know me, and I know them, and I know you, and
I couldn't agree more. That's my favorite thing about Medfield, too.
And it's a wonderful community, so I'm lucky to have people like you in my life.
Thank you, Peter. I'm lucky to have you in my life, too.
We want to thank Steve for appearing today on Special Times with Peter Filosa.
Thank you for having me, Peter.